Welcome back. Episode 28 of the Old Fashioned Podcast. As always, and by always, I mean as of last week, I am joined by my co-hosts, Clintus and Mike. What's going on, guys?
We did it.
Hello. Back-to-back episodes.
That's right.
Mike, would you like to say anything to the general public who doubted that we could do back-to-back episodes?
Yeah, fuck are you?
There it is. That's what I wanted.
Fuck are you?
Fuck are you?
Well, we are back for episode 28. But Clintus, since Mike and I finished, what are you sipping on over there?
Well, yeah, the 3-hour time difference. This is gonna be fun. This is a King's Coast coffee. I'm drinking the Darkness blend, which is my personal favorite over there at kingscoastcoffee.com.
I don't drink Tim's coffee. It's mainly out of principle, but that's just me.
I got Aztec in the queue. That's Aztec's next in the queue.
My flavor profile changed so much since we started this company. I think I've gone through probably 3 or 4 runs of different ones. Right now I'm on that Tiger. Oh, that Tiger Gold is just...
I'm still a lamplighter, man.
How does that feel as a Flyers fan to constantly have to look at the Gordon's Islanders?
It's confusing. It's very confusing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, now it's just the Lighthouse.
Right.
I will say,
I know
though,
what it stands for, though, so...
I'm very excited about what you guys' announcement this week.
Yeah, we announced cold brew.
Yes.
So we invested in a cold brew unit. So we have it in-house, and basically we'll be doing runs of cold brew. We have a canning partner, but we can produce the cold brew in-house. We don't have to go to someone to make it after we make the coffee. So it's exciting because we can control it more. We'll be able to produce it more. So the cans roughly run, I think it's 900 4-packs per run, something like that, if I remember correctly, which breaks out to, quick math, about 3,600 cans per run. So based on previous sales, we should be doing it monthly-ish, maybe every 5-6 weeks instead of monthly.
As someone who lives in Arizona, when it gets hot and we're going into the hell season, I love me some cold brew. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's exciting to get back to cold brew. We didn't do cold brew last year, which I wasn't happy about it, but we needed to, prepare for this run of cold brew. So we've spent a lot of time doing that, investing in the equipment and learning how to use it, which was a hilarious conversation when we were at the Coffee Expo this weekend, where they're like, I don't know, just gonna fill it up and wing it. So
glad to see there's so much professionalism in the industry.
you know who we're dealing with. So
yeah, I know.
Yeah. And on that note, we were talking before we were recording about, I was telling them how Wayne gets hangry when he doesn't have a plan for dinner. So we were down in Seaport, Boston area by the convention center, walking around, and Wayne was just getting mad, and Pete and I were just like,
my kid does the same thing. No big deal.
Yikes. And then we were talking about how, Mike was saying as a former chef, how difficult it probably is to find a place you enjoy eating. And then we went on a rant about, smoking meats and stuff, and how the more I fine tune my diet to what I'm supposed to be eating, the more I make stuff at home and I dial in the recipes so it's better than what I eat out, the harder it is to go, just, okay, we're going to eat here. Everything they have is shitty.
Yeah.
That's how my wife is, because for her it's more of like the prices. Like she'll like go to a restaurant and look at the menu, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, that's X amount of dollars." She's like, "I could have made 2 meals, or I could have fed 4 of us and had leftovers the next day." Yeah, and it's like, yeah, but you didn't have to stand in the kitchen and like chop and cut and grade. And she's like, "But I like it." I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
all right, fair
enough.
I was
like
always
therapy.
told if you get something good, like if you have one meal that you just absolutely love, either the way you make it or your significant other makes it, whatever the case may be, don't ever order it out, because it will never meet your expectations and you will feel like you wasted your money every time. Order something new.
There's very few places I can have a steak, because once I figured out how to make steak on the smoker with a reverse sear, ruined steak everywhere. I went, where was it? Oh, it was at Disney with Danielle. And I got a steak at the steakhouse in Canada, Le Cellier, and I was like,
oh, well, Canadian steaks, yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, I could have made this better.
Cam.
I could have made this better. Freaking Cam, dude. I blame him for that experience. God damn it. But yeah, so the more, even for Easter, I'm smoking ribs.
Ooh.
I'm going to smoke ribs, and I'm going to grill salmon on cedar planks. That's
nice. That's what we're doing this weekend.
Easter.
Yeah.
What?
My son and I, because my daughter and my wife are going to Chicago for volleyball, so it's just the son and I this weekend. And my wife's not a big seafood. My wife's not a seafood person at all. So anytime it's just him and I, or anytime it's me and or the kids without the wife, it's always seafood, sushi. So we're doing all you can eat sushi tomorrow night. There's a new sushi place opened up. It's all you can eat sushi. I'm taking him to that. And then I said this weekend we'll do some kind of fish. And I'm like, I was looking, I was like, salmon on a cedar plank. We haven't done that in a while. So that's exactly what we're doing.
That's the way to do it. I actually bought a bunch of cedar planks because you can buy them prepackaged from Whole Foods and whatnot. But I found a website that sells a bunch of cedar planks, so I just started buying a bunch, and you just throw them on the grill for like 15 minutes ish until you gotta do the touch test with your knuckle. It comes out great. Although salmon in the air fryer is better than the grill. But it has a stigma where if you know, because we don't have an air fryer built into our oven or anything, so I got to pull it down.
I don't have an air fryer, period. So
you need one. Might get one.
I know. I need one.
Yeah, just
we keep talking about it.
So we you know, we bring in the air fryer. If I did that on Easter on Sunday when everyone's like dressed up, and my wife would be like, "No, you put it on the grill. Do not take the air fryer out," because this huge hunk of equipment that I'd have to leave out on the counter. So I'm just gonna grill it. But on the air fryer, salmon is better than it is on the grill, 100%.
I might have to buy like just a small fillet and just throw it in there just to test it.
Try it.
I never would have thought of that.
Do it. It's
a great idea.
Amazing. Whitefish in the air fryer blows.
Okay.
Unless you bread it first. If you bread it, and you can do it right. I still have not dialed in breading on the air fryer as opposed to breading and then doing a drop fryer because it's two different ways of breading. The internet claims it's not. I call bullshit because I've tried it on chicken. I've tried it on so many different things, and it does not work.
The wife and I tried to do chicken karage, which is like a traditional Japanese dish where it doesn't do it in the air fryer. Like it's horrible. It's still floury, bastardized. You gotta actually drop it in the oil. So we haven't figured it out either. So if you find out, tell us.
I think that it's the seasoning on the karage and the way it's prepared in that style. You know, some things need to be fried. They need to be fried in oil. They cannot be fried by air.
That makes sense.
I think that's the major difference with chicken karage or something like that. It's just the way it's cooked. Like I don't think you could make, what's it called, tempura, like shrimp or anything like that in the air fryer. It's the way they cook it. That's what makes it tempura. So, yeah, it's just a little different. But yeah, Mike, you need to get an air fryer.
Yeah, absolutely. We've been talking about it, but since we moved, it's like, why do I want to bring another piece of equipment into the house? But she might just do it because her parents will probably use it as well. So
when you move into the next house, you should see if you can get an oven with an air fryer built into it. That's what Tim has, and it is like heaven.
Yeah, way better. Man, my buddy, so I started running again. I hate running. My buddy's real big into fasted running. You ever do that?
Yeah, I don't like the way that sounds, so I'm gonna say.
Well, it sounds horrible, but holy shit, dude, he shredded weight fast, shredded weight. Just wakes up. I started doing. I'll do it fasted because I usually work out fasted, but I did 2 mile. I woke up this morning. I did 2 mile run. And then on the way back, I did like a little bit of like a hit. So I would do, a distance of sprinting, immediately drop down, do some push-ups, and then like, walk it out, then sprint, drop down, sit-ups, whatever the case may be, the 2 miles back. Came home and immediately jumped into recording. But I have discovered, when you were younger, you only did hot showers, right? Only hot showers.
I did cold shower during football.
Dude, I'm so into cold showers right now.
Yeah, I used to do cold baths too.
Like, don't even nudge it up, just cold.
No, wow. I used to. There was a point too. I wouldn't do my whole body, but for baseball, when I started pitching my senior year, I started doing ice baths for my arm.
I wish I could do ice baths. I don't have anywhere around here where I could do that.
Oh, we just made it ourselves.
I just jump in the shower, just cold.
There was an ice machine.
It is so refreshing.
The school cafeteria kitchen was like right upstairs from the locker room, so we would literally go and get a bucket of ice, and we would make our own because we had the bathtubs in the locker room.
Oh, that works.
And we just dump it in, and put the water in, and then come back 15 minutes later, hop in. And then for baseball season, it was the same locker room, so I used to just I'd make a smaller one and just like kind of lean into it with my arm like this, and it was but yeah, ice baths are really good for you. Have you done cryo?
No, I want to. I want to really bad. And the I guess the science on it is still mixed. But for the most part, it's just benefit. I mean, but most of what I'm reading is just beneficial.
Tim swears by it. He loves cryo. I also want to do. There's a place here you can do the saltwater float. That's not necessarily free. That's more mental than for your body.
Yeah. Well,
but yeah,
you could argue
they put you in the
one, half a dozen the other.
deprivation. They put you in the deprivation tank, and then you just float on the water because it's so
I'd be
much
down.
salt.
I'd fall asleep. But I'm
Oh, no,
telling you,
I'd be
man.
out.
Cold showers, most refreshing, hands down, the most refreshing ever. Like
I used to in catering too. I would take cold showers. Like if I had to work, I remember
I
specifically
feel cleaner.
when they did the wedding, the Indian wedding down at the pier, it was 3 setup days. We literally took one of the piers in New York City and turned it into 4 rooms. Because if you don't know how an Indian wedding works, it's like it's a procedure through different spaces as they go to each part.
Cool.
It's very similar to a traditional like American wedding, but
Okay.
it's a little more formalized. And obviously there's some cultural differences. But you have your ceremony space. I forget what the second space was. Then you have your kind of reception, and then you have your there's all of these things that need to take place. So it was we turned a big empty open pier into 4 rooms.
Cool.
For this wedding. So I was there for 3 days for setup, and the last day I slept on a table. Because I didn't leave for 2.5 hours. So I was on a folding table with no blanket, curled up on the water in New York City in like April. And I remember they were like, go shower, go back to the office, or go back to my apartment like an hour or 2 before the wedding, or a few hours before. And I was like, are you sure I can leave? Because they're like, yeah, you look like death. So I went home, and I remember like, I just need to shock my system. So I just went whoop. And I was like,
Yeah.
we're
You
back.
just got to jump in. Just jump in.
Oh,
So
no,
wait,
I
do
was
you-
in and turned the water on.
Yes.
Do you do these? So is this just for like a post workout thing? Or are you taking cold showers now just on any given Sunday?
In general, I'm just taking cold showers.
Okay.
But
good
after
for
a
your
workout,
muscle, it's good for
Yeah,
muscle recovery,
especially.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know that a shower necessarily can get to the temperature necessary to see, I guess, faster recovery. I have no idea. I doubt it. Like, if I was to venture a guess, I would say that a cold shower, probably you're not going to get the benefits as you would in an ice bath or a cryo. Probably way better. But just from a standpoint of, I keep saying it, refreshing, I feel way cleaner, especially in a hot shower immediately after. I sweat. So I'm getting out of the shower and I'm still sweating from the shower. And I'm like, that's kind of counterproductive.
Yeah.
It also shocks your immune system, and it actually has an immunoresponse.
That makes sense. So is that the cryo? Like, is there a temperature
Cryo's separate.
specifically?
Cryo has
Cryo
everything
brings
to do with
you
muscle
down to-
recovery. A cold shower
so-
is
Cryo brings you down to about 36. I think it's 36-ish degrees.
Okay, so that's where you see benefits for like muscle tissue.
Yeah, because it's essentially, if you think after a workout, what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to do hot, cold compress, 15
Correct.
minutes or so off if you have like muscle aches and stuff. So if you think when you take an ice pack out of the freezer, how cold that is, and obviously it warms up as it makes contact with your skin and it's out of the freezer. And then you're supposed to switch to like heating pad or something like that, 15 minutes on, 15 minutes off. And it's supposed to loosen your muscles and, alleviate that soreness or that pain. So if you think about it, it's just doing what the ice pack does on your entire body except your head.
Right. So
And
the
then-
shower itself is just a refreshing element, not so much muscular
I wouldn't
benefit.
say it's the road to full body recovery, but it's definitely good for your muscles. Because even a hot shower after a hard workout, it's like it soothes your muscles.
Still good.
Yeah. So, yeah, the phrase we used to use on the if you'd sweating after the shower is like the shower didn't take. Didn't take. I don't know why, but that's what we used to say. Has anyone else suffering from allergies right now, or is that like
I'm starting to, man. I need to get some Flonase up my nose holes.
When is it allergy season in Arizona, Clintus?
Yeah. The last couple of days have been really windy, and that's really what it is. Because like we have a very short winter, right? Like I always joke that in January it's finally fall because all the leaves are falling off the trees in January.
Same here.
And then 2 months later, it's warm enough. And we got our first like big rain and everything, and now it's like everything's green again. It's like all the trees are back to green, and flowers are blooming, and because
Wow.
we normally would be coming off of spring training, right? Because MLB just started. So like for the whole month of March, it's like, oh sweet, let's go watch some baseball. We always take the lawn seats just because it's like it's not sitting in a chair watching baseball. We're like in the lawn, we're laying down, we're drinking beer. And it's inevitable. There's always like that 1 or 2 day there where it's like, yeah, the allergies hit you because it's the first time being outside, you know? And that's how it is right now. The wind is crazy. So it's like we had my daughter's beach volleyball last 2 days, and it's just been so windy. So you come back home and your eyes are all, yeah. But like in general, my allergies have gotten way better the last couple of years where I don't seem like I have allergies as much, whereas my wife does. But then there's days like yesterday where like the wind just kicked it up and it hits me for sure. I feel it.
When I was in New York, I wouldn't get it too bad the older I got. And then when I moved here, it was like getting hit by a truck. And there have been certain years where it's worse. This is one of the worst because I just had it 2 months ago. It was like, ugh. And now this week and last week I've had it, but it's not so aggressive. It's more annoying than anything. So, and I think we're coming out of it now because like there's not a thick layer of yellow pollen on my car when I come out in the morning. You know, I was going like this on the car. I was like, oh God in heaven. Or I don't, you've probably seen the video of that tree in Florida that's getting shook like
the
this.
bukkake just, fucking everywhere. It's just like,
you're like terrific. So yeah, it's been fun. But Mike, you're probably getting it now and gonna have to suffer for like a month or so, right?
Yeah, for a significant amount of time. Yeah, it'll probably be a couple months. It
You
just
think
hangs
after how
just
many
like-
years of human evolution, allergies wouldn't be an issue anymore? But apparently the pollen adapts. That's what I read. So nature is still trying to kill us.
Yes, that's great. That's great.
Hey, if I was nature, I'd try to kill us too. We're the most destructive force on the planet at this point.
Damn. I would say we just like to party. It's completely different.
You like to party, mister. I slammed 75 Miller Lights on Saturday night.
I don't know why Miller Lights just go down easy. Have you ever had a pickleback?
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Was that your first time having a pickleback?
I've never had a pickleback.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. We did Jameson.
I love how you told it to our group, and Rob was like, that sounds disgusting. And I'm like, oh my God, the things you tell us you would eat. We send those videos to the group chat, the old WRS one, Clintus. You know those videos where you're watching on like TikTok or something, you're like, no one should eat that. It's those like, let me get creative, and it comes out being disgusting for the most part. We put those videos in there, and Rob's like, I'd eat that. You know you would too. And we're like, no, we wouldn't, Rob. Just you.
That's the point.
Just you. And then, so Mike's like, oh, I had a pickleback last night. And he's like, that sounds disgusting. And Wayne tells him what it is. He's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. And Wayne and I are both like, it's weird, but it's good.
It is.
No, definitely not. Okay.
It is absolutely insane how it erases the taste of anything.
Yep.
Like, erases.
Yep.
I do Jameson. And it's
I do
like,
pickle juice in my Bloody Marys.
Ooh.
So we leave the because my wife is obsessed with pickles. So she
I just
leaves
drink
me
pickle juice out of the jar. Fuck it.
She leaves me the pickle juice in a mason jar in the fridge. Pickle purchases, and then as long as it's Grillo's, because I don't want any other pickle juice. So as long as she gets Grillo's, she pours it in the jar, and then we just use that for Bloody Marys.
Hell yeah.
So next time you're here, Mike, I got plenty of pickle juice for you to do picklebacks.
Yes.
Plenty of bourbon.
Yes.
We're
It
gonna
was
try
crazy.
to get, we're gonna try and get both of you here at the same time. I'm thinking.
Dangerous.
Here's what I'm thinking: is we should bring Clintus in for the Halloween festivities this year.
Oh, yes.
I'm down.
We want to do Universal, Clintus, because we did Busch Gardens last year.
Yeah. I listened to the episode. I heard all about it.
Yeah. So you know.
Yeah.
We so I'm thinking like maybe we'll have you out for that.
That was so
Universal.
fun, dude.
Yeah. No, yeah, I'd be down. I would love that.
Hollywood level scaring. Ben's gonna shit his pants.
It was so fun. I can't wait.
Ben is literally gonna shit his pants.
Tim's walking along, just soaking it all in.
Nothing phases him. It's incredible. Like I'm somewhere in the middle where you jump out at me and I'm like, oh, you know.
Right.
Or I kept going, how you doing? But sometimes I throw my fists up as a natural reaction. Ben's like screaming like he's being tortured, and Tim's just like, yeah, whatever, and just keeps walking.
Yep. You're no fun, Tim.
What a killjoy that Mr. Havelock is. Fucking Tim.
For real. It's a personality too. When you think of Ben and Tim, like as just in general, like you can and you can almost like extrapolate that. Like Ben is very much like this, right? And so like you can just see the animations, whereas Tim is just more like stoic. And so yeah, he's just like, yeah, that was scary. Good job. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
You almost got me
the
there.
haunted house with them. Mike's in the middle like me. He gets, jump scares. Like, all right,
Yeah.
As long as they don't
I'm-
touch me. If you touch me, I might hit you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Don't touch me in the dark. That's don't do that.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
oh, for sure.
Most haunted houses won't
Won't.
touch you, and the ones that do, I think you even have to sign a waiver for.
That
I'm
makes
sure,
sense.
like you go to the Midwest or somewhere in the middle of nowhere, that doesn't happen. But
We've got a couple of really gnarly ones here, especially like, okay, so like Phoenix, obviously big cities, it's just all spread out. All the cities touch each other. So you'll literally be driving down the road and it's like Phoenix, Glendale, Peoria, back to Glendale. You're like, and you never know where you're at. But like on the outskirts, we got just a shit ton of farmland, right? So even like where I live, a lot of farmland between me and like the main city. And so like people got savvy and they started buying up either they've already owned the land and the farmers got savvy and turned it into other things, which this one guy did. It's called Fear Farm. He started with just a haunted house and the corn maze, and he's now expanded it to he rented out. He turned out tons of acres into soccer fields. So every weekend there's soccer games there. He's got a paintball arena.
Yeah.
He's got RC track. He's got a remote airplane, whatever. Anyway, so he's a businessman, right? He's like, oh, I'm gonna turn all this land into, and I don't have to do shit for farming anymore. But anyway, he's got the best haunted house. Like it come Halloween. It was just one maze, and now he has turned it into like there's an alien one, there's a zombie one, there's a radioactive one, and he's got all these different ones. So now when you go and you buy a ticket, you get to take your pick of like 5 different haunted houses. That's awesome.
that was the nice thing about Busch Gardens. I think it was 5, Mike.
There might
And
have
they
been
started-
more. Maybe
they
5
started, like,
open.
Yeah. Oh, a few were closed. I forgot
Yeah,
about
there was a
that.
few that were closed.
But they started at like 7:00. The park flips over, so you can buy a specialty ticket just to come in at night.
Mm.
And then there's safe areas, and then when you walk through certain areas, they'll jump out at you. And remember the little girl almost kicked her.
Oh yes. There's a bunch of little exorcist people rolling around.
Yeah, it was good. The clown on the stilts is the one that got me good.
Yeah. He was an asshole.
Yeah, well, I mean that was his job.
Yeah.
I have a clown thing, Clintus. I'm not a fan. I saw it at a very too young age, and it fucked me up for the rest
I
of my
do
life.
recall that. Yes.
I love that movie.
Well, you like the newer ones better than the old one, right?
Yeah, like probably a 7 out of 10, 6, 7 out of 10. I would give them. I like the way that they split it, the volume 1 and volume 2. I think that was smart.
They're doing a prequel now.
I mean, nothing's creepier than Tim Curry, though. You
they're
can't beat
doing
it.
a prequel for the new guy, right? For Skarsgård's.
Are they? I haven't caught.
Yeah, they're going to talk about like his history and how he ended up in Derry and all that stuff.
No shit. Oh, that'll be good because that'll be something completely new. You won't have, you know what I mean, like the original to compare it to.
Well, Stephen King put his backstory in the book. Also, because it's the Stephen King universe, there's like reference material for what Pennywise is from other books. Not straight to him, but what he is as a spiritual entity.
Yeah.
Or a demon, whatever the hell he is. I don't even know.
Some
dumbass looking fucking paper mache spider.
Yeah. Big, creepy space monster.
I like the OG spider. The one that was... As a child, it's terrifying, but now you go back and look, you're like, that's hysterical.
I've never seen those movies.
Any of them?
No.
What?
Yeah,
I mean,
the old one you could watch, it's fine, but the new ones, if you're not a horror fan, I'd stay far away.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I'm like, it's not that it's like I'm scared of it. Like I'm sure it scared me, but it's just I just didn't. And horror movies never interest me. Like when I was younger, my mom was always against me watching any of that stuff. So when I went to my friend's house, it was like Freddy Krueger, Jason.
Yes.
So I've seen a couple of those. I haven't seen all of them. Like I've not seen all of it. All the Freddy movies or the Jason movies or even Michael Myers movies. But I've seen one here, one there. I know enough about the story. I get it. It just never interests me. Like being scared, never like, oh, I can't wait to get my, the shit scared out of me. Because I know the adrenaline rush you get from that. And obviously I've watched scary movies before, but yeah, it's just never been something where I like want to go either pay money to go see or sit down and like turn it on, right? There's always 50 other movies I'd rather watch.
A huge fan, especially of the old slasher movies, which I personally, I don't categorize them as horror. The slashers like of old, and horror today is so repetitive. It's all, Yeah. It's all supernatural. It's the same fucking premise over and over
And
and
it feels
over.
like they're just trying to one up what the
Yeah.
last movie did. You know?
Exactly. So the slashers of old, I love because actually Netflix has a really good series on like making of movies, and it's absolutely insane because there's a one dedicated. There's a Halloween special. Halloween is in the holiday special on the old slasher movies, and they go through how taboo it was to create a movie like that and how they absolutely exploded with the tiniest of budgets that they had to work within. And it's cool to hear the cast and the director and how they had to work around all these problems that they were walking into and no budget. They ran out of money and how they made things work, and the product at the end and how successful it was, to me, is just crazy. It's insane. It's such a cool journey to watch. And when you know that, you have, I do at least, have so much more appreciation for the film as it's turned out. And for me, I think that's a big part of why I like those movies. I said new horror, I think, is kind of trash. I'm not really into it. I like the story of Pennywise.
Anything after the 80s was
Yeah. It's just the same. It's just the same shit. It's just how can we get gorier? How do we, it's the same thing. It's this.
What do you consider?
spiritual entity.
What do you consider horror? Like versus like you see slasher horror. Like what would you consider like a horror? What makes it a horror movie?
So the kind of where I kind of draw the line is like, is there a sense of humor in it? Like if you watch Freddy Krueger, there's a lot of humor.
Yeah.
In that, right? So for me, if there is like an underlying comedic, you know what I mean, if there's a tone of humor somewhere in there, that kind of falls in a different category. Whereas just something that's just, I guess you could also call like psychological thriller a horror movie too. There's so many subgenres. But if you don't have any other underlying like anything kind of just straight out deranged, like The Hills Have Eyes is a good example. That's just straight deranged. That's horror, right? Rob Zombie does a lot of horror to me. He did great movies.
What
Great
about
movies.
Alien?
Not horror at all.
Interesting. Okay. See, I consider it a horror movie. It's one of my favorite movies
Really?
of all time.
Which one? Disney Princess, Kevin.
The first one.
No, which movie I missed it?
Alien.
Oh, Alien. Got it.
I'd say there's a big difference between thrillers and horror too, because one is kind of inherently, like you're talking about, Mike, like humor based at some level, while also
Yeah,
trying
there's
to,
an
like,
underlying tone that kind of gives the viewer a break, right? If you get a break and there's like, I don't know, a love story on the side, like a lot of times when you have other elements mixed in, I don't know. I look at that personally. I'm
Makes
like, is it really horror? But if you watch The Hills Have Eyes, it's just deranged people ripping other people. That's fucked up. That
Same
to
with
me,
the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. House
exactly.
of
Like
a Thousand
that's
Corpses.
right.
Yeah.
Horror.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I view it, but I'm sure everyone's opinions.
That's why I'd put Alien for me in horror, because it's essentially what you just said, but it's in space.
Yeah.
Like the whole point of the Alien movie is that you never know where she is. You never know what she's doing. And all you find is what she did or hear what she's doing until the very end.
Yeah.
And Wayne brought up a good point because we were talking about that's basically Jaws.
Yeah. Same formula.
That's exactly what they
You-
did with
and
Jaws.
you don't consider Jaws horror, though, you said.
No.
Yeah. See,
No.
I like Fear of the Unknown till it hits the supernatural level, and then you lose me on that one. Fear of the Unknown works when it's a physical entity for me.
Yeah. I agree.
Which is kind of why it, given what it is, to me it's still a good movie, because it was fear of, you didn't know what this clown's plan was. You didn't know why it was dressed up as a clown. You didn't understand any of it. So Fear of the Unknown for me, which I guess for some people wouldn't fall in the horror. I guess a suspenseful thriller or something along those lines would be my ideal in that scenario. But I also love, I respect the hell out of 50s black and white stuff, because you had to take an extra mile to scare people. How was it, House on Haunted Hill?
Yeah.
With Vincent Price. House on Haunted Hill has one of the most, to this day, every poll, everything, has the scene where the old lady comes out of the door as one of the scariest moments in the history of cinema.
Creepy, dude.
Because of what it meant back then. And you see it now, you'll jump, you're like, oh, and it won't scare you because we've been desensitized by all this other stuff that we've seen in our lifetime, played out on screen. But back then, you have to understand. Oh my God, that was like absolutely horrifying.
Even Night of the Living
audiences.
Dead was another one.
Night of the Living Dead. So I was like, my mom was like Clintus's, where she didn't really let me watch that stuff. And I went to a 3rd grade birthday party, and they were like, "We're gonna watch Night of the Living Dead." And I was like, "Oh God, my mother's gonna kill me." And then I saw it, and I was like, "Oh my God, I know why she's gonna kill me. No, I should not be watching this."
You know what though, dude? There's something to be said for your mental diet, right? Like, and I'm guilty of this. I will fall deep into like criminal documentaries, and it's always the same thing. It's like people going missing under crazy circumstances. They're found years later, completely just annihilate. You know what I mean? It's really fucked up shit to constantly like be bombarding your brain with. So like I get it at a young age. You definitely want to watch your mental diet, what you're taking in, and you're constantly feeding your brain. I remember being young, and this was like when Scream, I guess, was coming out, or one of those movies. I forget, which is another one I would call a slasher. But
Yeah, I agree. With
yeah,
that.
my parents were watching that, and I snuck out of bed and I went downstairs to see it, and immediately get upstairs.
That was
Same
it.
deal. My parents were not on board, but you found ways around it. Sleepovers.
Yeah, I was peeking through. I was at my aunt's house in upstate New York, and I was peeking through the 2 beams, like on the thing that led down the stairs, and I saw Georgie float down there, and here I am years later, being like, "Oh, clowns. Only clowns.
Georgie.
Don't trust him." And then so it's you know, kind of segueing into horror, and again, the differences between psychological thrillers and suspense and stuff. So I watched season 1 of Love, Death, and Robots.
Yes, dude, I'm
Which
so
is basically,
happy.
you could have just said it was animated Black Mirror, and I would have been, oh, okay.
Well, it's an anthology.
Yeah, it's animated Black Mirror.
Yeah, I think Black Mirror, tackles a little bit more deeper.
But they can go to crazy places that Black Mirror can't.
True.
You know, like the Beyond the Aquila Rift episode.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Right?
And I was like, something's not right. Something is so not right. And then when you
Right?
see the thing for the first time, you're like, oh, is it again? Did he do something with that? Oh, no. And then what? She's like resetting his brain every time to see like if he'll accept it at some point. That's what I got from the end of that episode. That was weird. My favorite,
The whole thing is.
my favorite was Ice Age with the kid from That 70s Show.
Yeah.
That was such a good episode.
Oh,
As
yeah,
it
the freezer.
evolves in the freezer.
The entire universe like happens and restarts like by the time they wake up the next morning in their new house.
I like when the 2 iron workers are sitting there on the beam. Look at this asshole.
Yeah, like, who are these douchebags? No, that one was wild. And then they turned it into like a temperate zone because they unplugged it overnight, and like the dinosaur. I don't know. It was just awesome watching that episode. It was fun.
It was so, your overall impressions of volume 1.
I liked most of the episodes. There was a few episodes that I was like, not really that great.
There was
But,
one episode in particular
that I liked or didn't like.
No, that I wanted to get your vibe on.
The yogurt one was genius.
Isn't that good?
Genius.
Yogurt was hilarious.
Genius.
Witness was a fucked up episode. That was
Oh my God.
like, trippy.
Like, is that hell?
yeah.
Is that just a loop of all time that those two are like doomed to or
Right.
something?
No. The episode where I immediately got Event Horizon vibes from this
The Aquila Rift one, right?
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I initially thought you were talking about Aqua Blue. I'm sorry.
No, Aqua Blue was
Yeah.
the Zima Blue.
Zima Blue. Yes.
No, the Aquila Rift was
the
Event
Aquila
Horizon.
Rift, like the first time I saw that, I was like, Event Horizon, they're in hell, 1,000%. And I was like, and as soon as that, I don't know, whatever you want to call it, alien, demon, whatever it was, walks out, I'm like, man, you had sex with that. That's gross.
Yeah, that's why I was like, did you get
That's gross. Immediately as it walks out, I'm like, there's a hole right in the middle. You did that. That's For those of you who don't know, you at least watch that episode.
Yeah,
At least watch that episode.
It's not quite the pig episode of Black Mirror, but it's up there. They don't
It's-
show anything like the Black Mirror episode did, so I'll give them that.
but and as it's like constantly flashing. I mean, that's gotta be hell, right? Or is it just trapped in this space nest
It could be either one.
and they're just feeding?
I would
off
say
of their-
Witness was more hell than that one because it just seems like those two are doomed to repeat that loop for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, the animation for that was so
Oh yeah.
right. It was like visceral.
Oh, they
Yes.
have some talented animation studios working on the thing.
bunch.
The other one, Lucky 13 with the girl from Handmaid's Tale. The
Trying to
one
read
about
the
the ship
synopsis.
that wouldn't like die, so to speak.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
The drop ship for the military.
Oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
That one reminded me of what's that show? The Expanse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Got heavy Expanse vibe. Helping Hand was so fucked up.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Which one was Helping Hand?
She was fixing the satellite and she had to take her glove off and snap
yes.
her freaking hand
Yep.
off after it got like rigor mortis in space
Yep.
just to get back in. And then the guy at the end's like, "Oh, we're sending a crew out to give you a helping hand." I was like, "Oh, don't say that." And she's like, "Funny you say that." And I was like, "Oh no, why?"
Yeah,
So
I agree. The animation, I love the fact that because I went to college originally for 3D animation. So like early 2000, like 2000 to 2004 was my tenor. And the first 2 years I was all about animation. I learned Maya. I was into modeling animation. So I was really into like watching. And this is pre YouTube, pre where you can go to one website. I had to go to use Kazaa and Morpheus to like download videos, right? But I was really heavy into animation. So that's the time when Final Fantasy came out, the movie. Remember that with Alec Baldwin as one of the voice actors and
Yep.
and so like that was like mind-blowing animation right back then and how realistic it looked. And so over the years, like I've watched different, I went to film festivals and always looked for the animations and stuff. So this reminded me of, I had this like craziness, even though all these are new episodes, I had this crazy nostalgia rush watching this where every episode was this different animation style. And I felt like I was at a film festival watching like, people's work. Like they were artists that were in school and these were their like projects. I was like, this is so badass. Cause like some of them are just, the animation styles were like exactly my, like, it just hit the right spot for me. I'm like, oh, this looks so good. It's so kind of like the Animatrix. Do you remember that? Where it was like there was like 5 or 6 mini little animated in the Matrix universe, and same thing. Each one was like a different style, and I was just like, oh, so good.
They did that with there was a Batman one. It was called I think it was called Gotham Knight or something, or I can't remember, but there's like 7 different short episodes just like this, just like Animatrix, and they drop all different animation styles. They drop Batman into various scenarios, and it's just, I love seeing it. And then excuse me, we did that with Star Wars Visions too. Did you see that, Clintus?
No, I haven't.
Highly recommend you watch Visions and give us your take because it's
Visions
the
is
same
awesome.
concept.
Okay.
It's non-canon. Was it 8? I think it was 8 episodes, right, Mike?
Yeah.
8 episodes, I think, of different animated studios giving a take on something based in the Star Wars universe because they took creative liberties, which I
I thought
love.
Visions was pretty incredible.
Yeah,
Is it on
especially
Disney
the
Plus?
first one.
Yes.
Disney Plus. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Disney Plus. Yeah. The first episode was my favorite. I ended up reading the book for it because it was so good.
It is 9, by the way.
9.
9, thank you. 9 episodes. But yeah. Love, Death, and Robots. I'm trying to look at the episode list to see. The Shapeshifter one was cool with the werewolves.
Yep. Soul Sucker was another one of those. Was like it was just that genuinely felt like an anime type thing with the vampire.
Wasn't crazy about the episode, but didn't hate it too.
Yeah. That's fair. Like I said, because that one I think felt the most anime to me. Given
I'm looking over. Yeah, I would say so.
the slashing, well, I don't know. It just felt to me like, oh, that feels really anime.
The 3 robots one was hilarious because it just
That
felt
was
like they were
great.
just shitting on us the entire time.
Then all of a sudden the cats come out.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So good.
The Secret War one felt like a video game. The one with the Russian World War I soldiers.
That was cool. I really like that. The mech farmers. That was another good one.
Suits. Wasn't crazy about that
Suits.
one, but it was cool. It was cool. It
Yep.
felt like Mech Warrior.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then
Guys
they'll
walking
zoom out
around
at
like
the
Armored
end.
Core was a real thing if it was farmers.
The zoom out at the end made me feel like they were like on some other planet, like trying to colonize it and fighting against all of those like little beasts. The alternate history one had me laughing out loud because it was like, how many different ways can we kill Hitler over and over again? And I was just like, yeah, let's keep doing this. This is fun. So I gotta
the fish one where they're out in the desert.
That was
didn't
trippy.
like that one.
Yeah, no, it wasn't one of my favorites.
It wasn't a top pick, but trippy's the best word for it. It was like, wait,
it had
what?
that 70s like tie-dye acid trip vibe.
It was
they
this
went
like
with that
super
style.
like tranquil, peaceful thing, and then all of a sudden he just sees this just dun 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 dun.
I was gonna watch it on the plane, and then I had remembered that Mike had said there's like titties and dicks and all sorts of stuff, and I'm really happy because there's definitely more dicks than boobs in that show.
Yeah, you would have been, a hentai master at that point.
Yeah, the kid behind me or something would have been like looking through the crack. Like, did you see that picture or the video of the guy on the plane? And he's watching a movie, and it was in-flight movie. It wasn't like he brought his own. It was an in-flight movie, and there's like a stripper on a pole, and they pan the camera over, and there's this kid looking like. And then they go back to the movie, and then they go back to the kid. He's still just staring, like mystified by the stripper just spinning around the pole. I was like,
any means necessary, man.
yeah, man. You gotta do what you gotta do when you're younger. But yeah, the Fish Night one was weird. Zima Blue was interesting. I like the animation in the dump one, but I wasn't like the story was like, meh, whatever. Didn't really
Nah,
care.
it was just kind of quirky. It was like, let's take it or leave. Like that's anthology. You take some, you leave some. The Buster Scruggs was the same way. Some were good.
The Good Hunting one was awesome. That felt like almost like a steampunk anime situation, and the story was really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like she became like metal mystical wolf assassin at the end, and I was like, yes, kill them all.
The whole story was really, really good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say so the season 1 had 18 episodes, and then they came around with a season 2, 2 years later, and it was only 8 episodes.
Yeah,
It was much shorter, smaller.
Is season 2 as good as season 1?
I wouldn't
never
say
finished it.
I wouldn't say it's as good. I think volume 1 is better. That could just be volume 1 is just larger. There is way more in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're bound to have some hits, bound to have some misses. But the more that you provide, it's probably going to be more attractive. Volume 2, I wouldn't say is bad. I think it's worth the watch, but I would say probably overall 1 is a better experience.
Okay. Are they doing?
I still think it's
season
worth a
3?
watch. Better than Cuphead.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Are they doing a season 3?
Yes.
Here's what
I
we
thought I
expect
read
from
that.
season 3. Oh, actually, like 2 weeks ago, they posted an article about here's what we expect from season 3.
Sick.
So
Yeah, I watched the first couple of episodes, and I forget why I never went back. Got busy, sidetracked, forgot about it, whatever. So I'll jump back since we're talking about it, and I got just looking at the episode list from season 1. I'm like, oh yeah, that was awesome. Oh yeah, that was awesome.
So
I'm like,
good.
I need to finish season 2, so I'll go back and just start watch. I'll just watch season 2 all over until, like I said, it's only 8 episodes. So
you finished season 1 of the only season of Arcane that's out, though, right?
yes,
What'd you think?
And
yes. So awesome show. Love the show overall. I love the 3 episode kind of like little arcs they did. I thought that was great. Obviously, like people were saying how the season finale and how oh wow. And so I guess my expectations went in one direction, and then the way that it went, I was like, oh okay, now I understand why everyone said it was such a big episode, but not where my brain went.
Yep.
But it's cool because like obviously you're like, okay, so what does this mean, right? Like one thing with the show is they like to kill people off, right? Like we, the first 3 episodes story arc, almost everyone died in the first group. So it's like as the show went on and we're losing characters, it's like, okay, I don't know, is this how this is gonna go? Where it's like, because it's the 3 episode story arc, is like we're gonna hit these, and you never know who's gonna die, you never know who's gonna be a main character, who's gonna stick around. Because I don't know the premise. I know the sisters obviously because even the intro of the show, the record goes down, it's the 2 of them on the record, right? So like you already know that those are the 2 main characters at least, and that's going to be woven through the whole story. I don't know if the season 2's story's already laid out, like if it's already known, because again, this is based off League of Legends, the game. I don't know how much lore there is written out and how much stories there are. If there's like graphic novels, I might just be naive and say, oh well, this is what season 2 is going to be about because we already know it's based on the book, or I don't know. So, but I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Can't wait for the next one.
Dude, the ending, it's like you were about to get everything you wanted. It was about to pan out.
Mhm.
People were on board, and she blew it.
shit.
Yeah.
And she blew it. But dude, her journey with the whole her mental health is just all over the
Oh,
place. Oh,
Isn't that baked into the character though, even in the game?
I believe so. Like I said,
Yeah.
I've played it. I can't say I've played that character enough to.
I was reading
speak
their
with.
their bios on the League of Legends site when I was watching the show to try to
Mhm.
get a little bit more acquainted, and I remember like it alluding to the fact that she's like completely lost it and unhinged for obvious reasons.
I'm excited to see where they're gonna go. Season 2 and what other characters they're gonna bring in,
Yeah.
because they have an endless cast that
That's
they could
interesting.
probably insert.
That's the interesting thing about, games becoming TV shows and movies is when they have a rich history and character list.
Except when they decide to not use the rich amount of lore and narrative already developed by the decades of game.
Talking about the Warcraft movie or the Halo show?
Both.
There's too many to name, Kevin. It's not just those two.
I haven't
Like-
watched the Halo show, but the fact that John's helmet is off and staying off makes
That's
me
not cool.
livid.
That's not
Ooh.
cool, dude.
I mean, at least you get to see Master Chief cheeks.
No, no. I
don't want
Master
to see
Chief should
MC
always be in
cheeks,
his-
bro.
You have spent
No
20,
MC cheeks.
20 plus years protecting this character's face from all of us. All we got was that one little hint at the end of 5. And then you take the TV show as the time to like have him take his helmet off, and he's not even fucked up. He looks like a normal guy. So I'm just like, I'm still gonna watch
you
it,
can't.
but
I'm sorry. If you enjoy it, cool. That is not it. That is not. So here's my issue. You take something with such deep lore and meaning, like that was like the start of a lot of people's just full diving into gaming. Halo is such a staple.
yeah.
It is such a staple. And you choose to just ignore everything and say, we're
Halo-
going to create our own thing. That's fine. Don't call it Halo.
Right. Master Chief is to Microsoft as Mario is to Nintendo,
Correct.
as Sonic is to Sega. Like it's the same
Correct.
thing.
Correct. Don't call it Halo. Change the suit. Like, just create your own show. That's fine. And if it looks similar to Halo, cool. Don't call it Halo. Garbage.
See, but
That's how
their
garbage take,
argument,
like,
their
horrible
argument
idea.
was they pulled from the books, and they were like, "Oh, we're gonna take all the book stuff," but
No.
nobody cares.
Don't give me that.
Exactly.
It's not Lord of the Rings.
Nobody
It's a
cared.
Halo novel.
Everyone
that
who
was
would watch it
based on
played the
video
game.
games. I that's how I felt about Joker, the movie. It was like, this should not be Batman movie. Like, this should not take place in Gotham. That should not be the Joker. It's a great movie about, becoming unhinged from mental illness and just society treating you like a dragon, a piece of shit. But it had no place, taking that intellectual property to tell the story.
In the universe.
Yeah, it was terrible from that perspective. And I know people always want to fight with me on this, but I will stand ground. And when the new Batman movie came out, I started seeing the debate pop up, and people were saying the same exact thing. Like, it's a great story, but it does not belong in the pantheon of DC Comics. It just doesn't fit. It's shoehorned and shoved, and you fuck Todd Phillips. That's my feeling.
I'm bummed. I mean, did you feel the same way about Warcraft movie?
Yeah, Warcraft movie was a joke too. Like
Did you even enjoy it?
I enjoy it from the perspective of like a high fan. I enjoy it the same way that I enjoy the Hobbit movie. The Hobbit movies are trash compared to the books and the storytelling
yeah.
and the cartoons from the 70s. They're garbage. But when I watch all the movies, I watch all the movies. It's the same as the Star Wars prequels. 1 and 2 are terrible movies. I don't care what anyone says. And it's funny because a lot of the people we interview now for Star Wars and Scotch, they're younger than me and Tim. So they're like, oh, I came up on the prequels. And I'm like,
I'm sorry.
yeah, but they love it because that's what they
Right.
came up with.
That's
And
what
it's
they
like
came
my
up with, yeah.
kids, like my daughter loves Rey, and that's why I get mad when people are like, Rey's a shitty character. I'm like, no, Rey was a character that got the shaft because she didn't get fleshed out the correct way on the screen. If you read the books to the novelizations of the movies, there's a lot more details there. But aside from the last 10-15 minutes of Phantom Menace, the first two movies are pretty garbage. There's some good lore points and some good scenes. Obviously, you get Yoda versus Dooku, but those two movies are garbage. They're terrible.
Mm-hmm.
I have no problem admitting that. So I would say from the same perspective as how I feel about the Warcraft movie, it's how I feel about it's an IP that I love,
Right.
but the movie didn't do it justice to what the story is because you get a better version of the story in the DOS version of Warcraft 1.
Right. See, I had the disadvantage of watching the movie prior to getting into the game.
Yeah.
And when I got into the game, Clintus, I got into the game. The amount of Warcraft books that I have on Audible, almost
Golden.
all of them, and I listened to them. I played through Warcraft 3, got that. I love that story. And now that I know a whole lot more, the movie doesn't really make sense. But because I watched it beforehand, I feel like I can enjoy it more than someone who knew what they were talking about while they were watching it.
You got to take these things with a grain of salt, and I'm sure once I see the Halo show, I'll have some more context to speak. But for instance, what's the guy's name that plays Bilbo? Martin
Freeman.
Martin Freeman. He's a great Bilbo Baggins. Don't get me wrong; like he does a phenomenal job. But again, you suffer just like what's his name is a great Joker.
Joaquin
Phoenix. He's a great Joker. He's very good at what he was done. He was just handed a horrible script to be the Joker. But he brought it to life and he did a good job with what he was given. And I feel the same way about Bilbo. Smaug, Benedict, Cumberbatch, he did a phenomenal job too. As if you watch the mocap sessions of him like crawling on two hands across the ground, they put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into this. The problem becomes is you tried to take from ancillary material that most people have never read, like Lost Tales and all of this stuff, and you stretched an 800-page book into 9 to 12 hours of film. Meanwhile, on the other side with Lord of the Rings, you had to cut stuff because you couldn't put everything into movies because people would have lost attention because they're already 4 hours long.
But I wish more movies got the Lord of the Rings treatment. There are adaptations that Dark Tower immediately comes to mind. Needed the Lord of the Rings treatment and probably more.
Yeah,
that's how I feel. Go ahead.
It's interesting because I'm not a reader. I don't read books. I'll listen to an audiobook, but 99% of the time I'm listening to a podcast or listening to music or something like that. I don't read the book. So when a movie is announced, like Dark Tower, for example, didn't know it was a book, didn't know it was based on a book, didn't know that there was multiple books, right?
Yes.
I enjoyed the movie. Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, like insert all of these, movies that became are books that turned into movies. And it's like, I always hear, the books are better. Like the books are way better. I'm like, well, it makes sense, right? It's longer. There's no like page limit, so to speak. And because it's text, they have to do a much better job of describing what you're seeing. So your imagination can build these worlds and these characters and all that stuff. And I'll admit, like, back in the day, like, for example, Jurassic Park is the one that comes to my mind. I watched the movie and then I read the book. Well, it was cool because when I'm reading the book, it didn't matter what they said in the book, what he looked like. I'm picturing the actor. I'm picturing the people I saw in the movie.
Right.
So I actually enjoyed the book more because I can see the characters play out in my head versus, reading a book and it's like, I think this person looks like that, but I'm not quite sure. And then when you hear a scene, you're like, does that make sense? So for me, like when I hear you guys or hear people talk about movies and how they don't do them justice or it wasn't very good for what the IP, like you're saying, that it represented, it's always hard for me to like conceptualize that because I'm like, that was a good movie. I liked it. I hope they make a sequel. Case in point, this is one of the one I always get shit on for is The Last Airbender. I like that movie. I enjoyed that movie. I wish they would have made more movies because I'm like, oh, cool, Fire Nation. And he, now he's got the power of the water. So let's go to the next one, the Earth and It's like, but it got shit on. And of course, the animated series was awesome. And they made a sequel to that. And like, that's what people go through, right?
My son loved that movie. I watched it with him.
I enjoyed it. For, like you said, like for what it was, right? It's kung fu. It's supernatural. There's some powers and cool stuff. Make another one. But it's like because of the numbers, the box office numbers are like, no, it flopped, bad reviews. We're not going to make another one. It's like.
What he did immediately following that movie the next day?
What?
He started watching the entire show. because that's who it's aimed at. You know,
Mhm.
for Dark Tower, Mike, they know you're going to see it. So they're going to get your money one way or another at some point.
They did.
Even if you hate it, they got your money. Then they're going to go after Clintus because Clintus is going to go buy the book afterwards or the audiobook or something and try and learn more and compare and contrast.
I think what angers me so much about Dark Tower specifically is the overwhelming amount of potential
Yeah.
that was there. What they could have done with that IP is like, it hurts. It hurts so much because there was so much there. The source material was amazing, and it could have been darker. It could have been rougher. It could have been everything. They should have gone into more detail. They should have developed the characters more, and you're only going to get that when you give something a Lord of the Rings treatment. And again, I think you could have done Lord of the Rings treatment ×2 for Dark Tower, and it would have, like, that's what it needed, because there's so many books and there's so much to that story.
So
and
a la Dune.
yes, exactly, dude. Exactly. That's even, give it the Dune treatment. Like, there's so much, and they shortchanged all the fans, and they shortchanged all the potential fans, and they shortchanged, like, to cram all of that into a singular movie and say, "Yup, here you go." It's like, man, like, you just shit all over it.
So, question again. I'm glad you brought up Dune, because, like, again, I know Dune is a book series, or it's a book.
Yeah.
But, like, I didn't know going into that movie that this was only part 1. That the plan is to make part 2 or part 3.
And it was
or whatever,
amazing.
right? But the question is, do you think that they should have them queued up already, kind of like Harry Potter, 7 and 8, right? The last 2, because
no one's done it like Lord of the Rings and Deathly Hallows, where you film it all at once. That way the characters don't age, or you don't have to worry about that, or people not coming back. You know, Marvel even had that problem with what's his face, Iron Man's buddy, War Machine, where we got a different War Machine from Iron Man 1, but no one has done it other than Deathly Hallows and Lord of the Rings, where it's just like, we're gonna bang it out over 2.5 years and film it all and then release it all.
Do you feel like that's the way they should do it?
I think studios are too cautious to give that kind of budget out now,
That's literally what happened with Dune.
because they see folks get mad like they do with Dark Tower, and they don't want to be sitting on 2 duds and dish out.
I also think that's not fair, because they literally, like, again, to expect fans to accept that, to expect people to accept what they gave us in turn for, instead of what it could have been, it's such, I don't know.
Just
That's
make
shit on the studio.
Make good movies. That's my point. Like, make a
Yeah.
movie that a fan is going to want. You know, Denis Villeneuve is a fan of the Dune series when you see that movie. You knew
Yes.
that Peter Jackson was a fan of the Lord of the Rings books when
Yeah.
you see those movies.
Yeah.
You knew that, who's the guy that just directed Batman? Matt Reeves was a fan of Batman comics when you see that movie.
Right.
You can tell. We actually said this on Star Wars and Scotch yesterday with Decade Jedi. You can tell when a fan is making something that has an existing intellectual property that they care about. You can
Right.
tell that Dave Filoni, Jon Favreau are in love with Star Wars. You can tell that Bryce Dallas Howard is. You can see it. It comes out in the art at the end of it. So that's my point. You need people that are passionate about the project to get the fans and to bring in new fans. Denis Villeneuve did the same thing with Blade Runner. They did the recut, and then he made Blade Runner 2049. Blade Runner 2049 is a really, really, really good movie. Really good. You know, it's one of those things that when it got a modern adaptation of an older film, they didn't skip a beat. They made it feel like it was seamless. The only thing that changed was the way you view it was in higher definition. That was it.
Yeah,
You need fans making it. That's
I
it.
100% agree with that. I think you nailed it. 'Cause, like, it's just the fact that, like, to Mike's point, like with the Dark Tower, like if they would have gotten somebody who's like a huge Dark Tower fan and like said, this is what I envision and this is how I think we need to do it, you know, even if they like had it plotted and planned to do a second or third movie and they're scared to like I said, pull the trigger, that makes sense. And I don't know where, like how a studio feels the confidence going into that, unless it's someone like Peter Jackson or a big name that has already done it. Like I did it with Lord of the Rings, I can do it with yours as well. Like Avatar.
Right.
Like Avatar is planned for like 2 or 3 more movies, right? And that's kind of what they're doing now. But that's obviously different because it's digital. But
I have yet to meet someone who's like, Avatar is one of my favorite movies.
yeah,
That movie, I didn't like the movie. I don't think it's good. I sit there when I go to Animal Kingdom, and I'm like, man, this would really make a great Wookiee planet when they're done with Avatar and want to bring Star Wars over here. Kashyyyk, that's the Wookiee homeworld, looks just like it. I'm like, this cool. In 20 years, when they finally are over this dumb decision that Disney made, we'll turn this into Kashyyyk. It'll be great. Everyone will be happy because who gives a shit about Avatar? Seriously, it feels forced. No one cares.
Yeah, I had the
weird.
unpopular opinion that that movie was shit from jump.
Yeah, it's Pocahontas in space. We've heard the story before. Whatever. Nobody cares.
It's just
Like,
James
whatever.
Cameron flexing his technical muscles. That's it.
Yeah, he needs to stick to making other stuff.
I know
We-
people who love that movie. They just
I don't know
they love it, dude. They love it.
What a terrible movie. Terrible. I know I'm gonna get tweets for this. I can't wait.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Visually, I think I love the visuals.
You enjoyed it.
That's what
or
everyone says, though.
You enjoyed it, or I would make a theme park destination trip to go
No.
see
Well, okay, but here's the
Pandora.
thing. Going back to that though, like again, the visuals, I haven't been to Animal Kingdom since I was there. Like literally, the last time I was at Disney is when it opened, and I didn't make it to Animal Kingdom. I took my daughter to Epcot, and then we went to Magic Kingdom and stuff like that. But I think that's just it, though. I think it's more like the visuals. It's because of how visually rich the world was. You can make a theme park out of it, right? Like there's not a lot of worlds that you can build like a physical version of it, right? Like
Right.
obviously Harry Potter with Hogwarts and Diagon Alley, like that's visually rich.
Yeah, and to your point, actually, yeah. So movies that are based in like you said, so Hogwarts, right? The environment in Harry Potter, everything is based around Hogwarts. So it's very simple to bring that concept over and create a world around that. Same thing with Avatar. I could see that exactly. The visual, it was so visually striking. The jungle and the area that you were in. So to create that, I think with Avatar Land though, just to create a forest is like Hogwarts makes sense, right? That I could 1000% I could see that. But just to like create a wooded area, and we're gonna call it, what are you going to, the Tree
Yeah.
Knot Bar?
No, I hear you. No, I
know
get
what I
you. I
mean?
get you. I think that was the idea that they had creating it though.
Yeah.
And also knowing that it's a future investment. Because like if you think about it, they already have it exists at Animal Kingdom, right? And the
Yeah.
movies aren't even out yet. Because what's going to happen is those movies are going to come out. Parents, our generation that saw the first one and liked it, are going to like, oh, cool, another one. And it's bringing the kids now. The kids see it like, oh, I want to go to Animal Kingdom and go to, what the fuck is the place called?
Pandora.
Pandora. Thank
Pandora.
you. Jesus. I was like, it's on the tip of my tongue.
Good job, Kevin. Good job. He says he didn't like the movie. I think he's a liar.
The river, I've been on the river ride, and like it's cool, and they had one of the animatronics that apparently like broke ground for what Disney Imagineering could do for the future, the way it moves, and it's very lifelike and all that stuff. I have not been on the other one, which is apparently like very similar to Soarin'. But again, it just feels like a waste of space. Like they could have done something with another. I think they should have did Zootopia. Why in God's name wouldn't you do Zootopia in Animal Kingdom when you own the? Makes me mad.
Yeah,
That's a good
Zootopia
point.
would have been
Because
pretty cool.
Zootopia is such a good movie. So
That's
Did you see the movie Bad Guys coming out, or villains? Bad Guys.
Bad Guys.
Yeah, it's
Is it
animated.
animated?
Yeah, my kid is very excited. He's actually concerning me. He's really into being the villain. Everything we do, man, I'm the bad guy, Dad. I'm like, oh, okay. Should I be concerned about this?
Oh yeah, okay. Oh, I haven't seen a trailer for this, but I saw like a poster or something like this.
Yeah, he's like really hyped to go see
Notorious
that movie.
criminals Mr. Wolf, Mr. Snake, Mr. Piranha, and Mr. Shark, Mr. Tarantula are finally caught. To avoid a prison sentence, the animal outlaws must pull off their most challenging con yet, becoming model citizens.
And he wants to see this, dude. Bad, like in the worst way.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I get the point that Kevin and you were making as far as like Avatar was probably a bad choice. my brain just simply goes to, okay, it's visually rich. It's a whole
It is.
world, right? It's a whole world that you can create and do things around, much like they did with the Star Wars world, right? And then they build these worlds, and then knowing that there's more movies coming. I think that's the direct connection. Is like, okay, cool, build this, and then when the movies come out, the kids want to go there. They want to visit. It's just like the movie. It's just like the movie.
Yeah.
Insert Tim. It's like the movie.
Yeah.
It's like the movie.
Yeah.
I guess they're banking on the fact that that this next generation is going to enjoy it as much as
Yeah.
I guess everyone in our generation did.
That's a $1 billion gamble right there.
That is a $1 billion
billion.
gamble.
But I also think, like I said before, I think it's because of James Cameron. He has a track record. I think that's what they're banking on, him and his ability to perform. You know what I'm saying? But like, with that being said, and just talking Disney in general, and I know Disney, Disney World can do this because they've got the real estate. They literally have the real estate, whereas Disneyland is kind of screwed. But think about all the other IPs that Disney owns, where they could make these worlds. Like, I would love to see like Tortuga from fucking Pirates of the Caribbean.
Here's the problem: is Disney's gonna put the
Hoes
focus?
don't mix with Disney.
You're talking about the wenches.
Pirate wenches. That's what I said.
The Disney is going to focus on the metaverse now. They're not going to focus on the parks, which sucks. They just did $1 billion, or I forget how much it was, infrastructure to the parks in Florida to prepare for the 50th anniversary celebration, and that whole thing was derailed by COVID to the point where they're still doing construction. It was all supposed to be done in October of last year in preparation for a construction-free 50th anniversary celebration for 1 year, and instead Epcot is surrounded by construction walls for everything they're doing there. So the new CEO also blows dicks, but that's a whole other story. So I think they're going to focus on the metaverse now and not on Disney parks, which sucks. But yeah.
How long do you think that lasts, man?
I think it's the future, unfortunately.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. I think it's going to be easier to create a virtual environment, and to introduce sensory nodes as time goes on to immerse you further into said virtual environment than it will be.
I guess long term, it's probably cheaper.
100%. All you got to do is render a virtual environment, and then
Yeah.
as long as you can promote sensory, I don't know what the word is, points, so you can touch, feel, smell, see. That's the future.
Yeah. I mean, there's already those games, those arenas that you go into where you put in like the virtual goggles, but you're in a maze. So like as you walk up to a wall, you touch a wall, right? Like you're seeing stone, but you're touching like, foam or
Yep.
whatever that stuff is, like paper mache. So like I've been into those before where you're walking around and it's like you're on the edge of a cliff and you're doing the whole like, oh crap, right? And then you kind of feel your toe and you feel the edge. You're like, oh, there's actually an edge there. Like that, I can see that being extrapolated and going back to haunted houses, even like, you know what I'm saying? Where it's like you're in this virtual space, but it's in a physical space.
They did that at
Resident
Disney
Evil
Springs,
VR.
and then they canned it during COVID, so it's currently closed and with no way of opening. So I don't know. We got two pieces of news before we check out today. And the first comes from VideoGamesChronicle.com. It's Nintendo's eShop's front page currently features a hentai game you can play with one hand.
Because you only need one hand.
Yeah. It's
Yo, Nintendo's full in on the zero fucks.
At the time of publishing, Hentai Uni by Big Way Games is on the front page of Switch's digital storefront and is described by its developer as a puzzle game that can be played with one hand. 4 girls and 12 beautifully drawn scenes will cheer you up and help you relax, the description reads.
Yeah, I bet it
As
will.
seen in this uploaded gameplay, the game has players completing puzzles in order to remove clothing from anime characters until they're completely topless. You can read the rest of the article.
So what you're telling me is prior to making any large decisions, you play this game.
Yeah, it sounds like should I sign this mortgage? Let me go play my hentai game.
Hold on, let me go play this Nintendo game. Stand by.
Mike's downloading it right now. On his
What
Switch
the
probably.
shit?
It's only $1.99.
They said PlayStation turned down all of their hentai games. Fuck it, we'll take them.
I mean, it's Nintendo.
Nintendo's got no shame.
Hell yeah. Keeping with the Japanese sex and video games,
Octopus.
Japanese company calls its gaming bed setup the, quote, forbidden layout. This comes from
Gaming bed?
PCGamer.com. The motorized gaming bed comes from the company that brought you the desk tent. Japanese gaming furniture company Baohute wants you to eat, breathe, and evidently sleep video games. This goes in line with what I just said about the metaverse. With its electric gaming bed, which is, according to the company, quote, a forbidden layout for such self-degrading gamers. End quote.
Holy shit! I need to unplug.
Yeah. The electric gaming bed is part of Bahute's furniture ecosystem, dubbed the ultimate gaming space, which includes a motorized bed, a desk with a place to mount your monitors overhead, a mini fridge, clothes rack, and even a floating arm in your for your tablet in case you needed more screen in your face.
Dude, you know what this is what I envision. You ready for this? You remember, I'm assuming you both seen Minority Report.
Mm-hmm.
Remember when he walks through this like virtual storefront and it's just a bunch of people laying in these beds getting virtually banged?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember that.
That's what I see. That's what this is. Minority Report banging.
What was the movie with Bruce Willis where he's in that like pod and you like, it wasn't a metaverse. I think you go out and it's like a doppelganger of you that's not real, but you can feel, touch, and see everything. Yeah, and he's like going out, and him and his wife are like having multiple partners, but there's no scare of like STD or anything because it's like virtual. Not you.
Yeah, what was that movie called?
I forget what that movie was called, but that's what that reminded me of too.
I know it's not.
But
Fifth
yeah, that's
Element.
the future, guys.
Surrogates.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the future. You know, you're gonna lay down in the bed. You're gonna put like some sort of device on your knob,
Sleeve.
and then you're gonna make your selections and go to town.
I don't like where this is going.
I don't either. I like it the old-fashioned way. Call me a traditionalist.
I don't like where this is going.
Speaking
I like
of that, I loved Altered Carbon. I'm sad
That was great.
That got canceled.
I gotta watch season 2 in the anime. I haven't watched either yet.
Same. And I stopped because I heard like this. I heard most people said the 2's not as good as the 1, and then knowing they had canceled it, it's like, oh man, like
Yeah, it kind of ruins the experience.
yeah.
1 was awesome. I really enjoyed 1.
So Cyberpunk. So just for you guys know, like Cyberpunk is my favorite. And I know what segue. Cyberpunk is my favorite like genre. Like I love futuristic, slightly dystopian. Like that's why like the Blade Runner was like the new one, even the old one. Like I went back and watched the old one after watching the new one just to get reacclimated. Like that is my favorite world genre. Period. Like, and so like right now there's not really any shows that I know of. If there is, let me know, please. But there's like not really like something like Altered Carbon that's like new and ongoing that I can think of, right? Like I go back and watching some old stuff. Like I've done searches for like cyberpunk shows and movies, and I'm watching stuff. But like that was something that when I found Altered Carbon, I was like, this is sick. I was late to the show because I'm late period watching shows. When I get into it, I'm like, this is sick. And then it's like literally 2 weeks after I started watching it, they're like, it canceled. I'm like, no.
When I went to CES in 2019, they had a whole marketing exhibit for it, and it was like it was fake. You've seen the show, Mike, so you know it was it was supposed to be sleeves, like sitting in these freezers in this booth, and it looked like human bodies and blood. It was wild marketing.
Wow.
And you like walked through, and they did the whole like choose your sleeve experience and that whole thing. It was really, really, really cool. But with how much Netflix put into that show and what happened to it, I'm like, what the hell? What are you doing there? So, and it's a great show. I don't, again, on the flip side, I don't know anyone that didn't like our Altered Carbon that saw it.
Yeah. So we're like, who are they listening to like, oh, we're not gonna renew it.
It probably goes back to what we said last week when we said Netflix does a horrendous job of marketing their shows.
They do.
They probably did a bad job, and they didn't get the viewership they wanted, because think how much it costs to make shows like that. And then, everyone may like it, but if you don't market it correctly, you're not going to get enough eyeballs on it.
I feel like there's nothing like beforehand. I feel like, so I stumbled across Love, Death, the Robots the same way. I didn't know it was coming out. I had no idea what the fuck it was. I just happened to click it, and I immediately got hooked. I felt like same thing with Altered Carbon. There was no buildup. There was no pre-release marketing, I feel like. There probably was, but I didn't see it. So it really wasn't in your face. It wasn't on the feeds anywhere. It just kind of appears. People kind of peruse. A year later, it picks up steam because everyone finds it, and then they're talking about it. And then by that point, it's too late, and they fucking cancel it.
That would be Netflix's overall strategy, which is called shotgun everything and hope something sticks.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's what they do. They make a bunch of shows and hope that a few do well. But, I mean, they're not doing so. The more the competition came
raising
into
their
the market,
prices
the
again.
worse.
I can't wait to spend fucking $25 for a membership.
Yeah, the more that came in, the less it got. All right. Anyway, we have to wrap up because Paul's got to produce other stuff. Like we. If you guys are not happy with the length of this episode, I'm gonna come to your house. I'm gonna slap you in the face. That's what I'm gonna do. Personally, slap you in the face. But before we get out of here, make sure you're rocking that King's Coast merch and drinking that King's Coast coffee like Clintus is right now. KingsCoastCoffee.com. Cold brew drops on Friday, which I believe is the day this episode comes out, Paul.
Yes, sir.
So when you hear this episode, go to KingsCoastCoffee.com, and if there's any cold brew left, there you go. Go, KingsCoastCoffee.com. And make sure you pick up your tickets for DCXevent.com. No old-fashioned episode this year, live from the floor. But all three of us will be there, so you can come say hi, hang out, and see what's going down. GCX is going to be fun this year. I confirmed another content creator before I got on today, which was exciting. So we're going to have a little content creator area on the floor, which is going to be cool. But yeah. You all have a great one. Thank you so much for tuning in to episode 28 of the Old Fashioned Podcast. We wish you nothing but the best until episode 29.
Cheers.
Have a good one.
See
all.
you.